Alright guys, welcome to the video today. So in this video I want to talk about Hanzo, who is a character in Overwatch that seems to be rarely seen, at least in my opinion from my experience, in public matches on PS4. It is a little bit more common on PC, but for PS4 and just console in general, it's going to be a lot harder to play Hanzo because the skill gap required to play him is pretty steep. And at first, it's kind of hard, you don't know what you're doing, and I thought he was terrible at first, but I've had a lot of recent success with him, so I said, hey, might as well talk about the few things that I've learned and some tips that I could give to you so that you can hopefully become better at playing Hanzo. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is his two special abilities, which is I'm going to break it down, I don't want to give the technical names, but you have a scatter arrow and a radar arrow. If you shoot the radar arrow into a big crowd or just at anyone in general, of course it works better in big crowds, but basically you just shoot the arrow in the general direction, and if you get close within a certain radius of the enemy, it will give the same exact effect as the Widowmaker's super or her ult, which is you can see the enemies who you tagged through walls. Now this might not help you too much, even though it can help you a ton with leading shots with your arrows. It is a humongous help to your teammates. I've talked to my teammates, just letting them know, like, hey, does this help you that much? And they told me it's a humongous help. It helps them know exactly where people are, and in this game, when you know exactly where people are, you can pre-stun them with McCree, you can pre-fire with Shuriken from Genji. Just in general, having your enemies on the radar for you and your team, especially with a style of weapon like a bow where you have to lead the weapon around a corner, it's super important and it's super valuable. The other arrow is the scatter arrow, who is mistakenly used in different areas that it's really not very strong for. If you try to bounce the scatter arrow off of a wall that's very far away from your targets, being you shoot at the wall and then the enemies are 40 feet to the right of that wall, it's not going to work, because once the arrow impacts that target, it's going to scatter super wide. It's best used if you know a quick target, like maybe a tracer or something is approaching you. You can shoot it at the ground, just right below their feet, and then because you're so close to them and it's below them, it's going to be a really tight spread of arrows that come from the ground. And a lot of times, if you're playing against squishy enemies, you can one-hit them. If you don't one-hit them, then they're very, very easy targets to pick off with a melee or just a low-charged arrow hit. The thing that people don't realize about Hanzo is you should not be charging up all your arrows all the way. It's super, super valuable that you do not do that. Just getting a lot of shots off and just spamming your arrows, getting like half charged, three-quarters charged. Sometimes if they're super close and really weak, you can tap it. In general, you do not want to be holding it down all the way and be saving your arrows as if you're a sniper, because you're not. If you were going for that playstyle, then I would say go with the Widowmaker. But when you're playing Hanzo, you want to get as many arrows as possible in as many people as possible, and you can rack up those assist points, those assist kills, and in general, you're going to be a much better help to your team. The next thing I wanted to talk about was Hanzo's ult. The common misconception that I and a lot of other people have is I would throw my ult straight into the ground, assuming that the dragon would level out and then continue to mow through the people on the other team. But what happens is, whatever direction you throw the arrow in, that's the way it's going. If there's people above you, you can throw it above you, but for the most part, you want to keep it as straight as possible. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't want to just throw it straight into the ground or straight up in the air if there are people not in those locations. But of course, if you are above or below someone, that can be very useful as well. Overall, with his ult, you don't want to pop it too far away, because that will give a lot of people time, especially with squishy characters like Genji or Tracer that are really fast. They can just pop in and out of it super quickly. You want to make sure that you kind of catch them by surprise, kind of use it when other teammates are in the area, like a Reaper, someone's on the zone, helping putting shots down. If you're the main the main sight line and you're the only person alive on your team, you're not going to want to use it, because chances are they're paying attention to you and they can just skip right out of the way. And that's how I found my super is used best. It's kind of luck, I guess, depending on the situation, but for the most part, you do not want to be popping it when you're the center of the attention. My last tip is you want to stay as far away as possible from the squishy and really quick characters that it can get in your face really quick and just move around super fast. And they're already hard to hit if you're on other characters, but when you're on a Hanzo, they'll really screw you up if they get in your face. So in general, you want to be jumping around, try to get out of the situation. You can wall run up the side of walls, so keep that in mind. Even if there's no building at the top that you can run on, just sprint up the wall and then jump to the side, because any movement in this game, especially on console, is going to throw off people's aim, and that's ultimately what you're aiming for. If people get in your way and they're up in your face, you can put some shots down with just tapping the trigger instead of holding it down, because in general, it's not going to be worth it for you to hit that one shot. You want to get some damage on the person so your teammate can help you off, or you can just get a little bit of damage on them, run up the side of any wall. Doesn't matter if it has a top to it. It'll in general just distort your enemies and disorient them, and overall it's going to be your best way of escaping. Of course, this is a very short tip video. It's very basic, not going into any competitive nature of things. It's just more of like a Hanzo for dummies sort of thing. I was a dummy at first. I had no clue how to play the character, but slowly you kind of learn and you get a better feel for it. Personally, I would recommend playing on a higher sensitivity just so you can snap to enemies a lot quicker. I play on a 40-30, I think, so that's something to keep in mind. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.